My name is Joseph Patrick Dougherty, and a lot of people call me Doc, and a lot of people call me Pat. My birthday is 3/27/43, and I was born in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia General Hospital. My parents were Mary Peterson, and my father was James Dougherty. My father was born at 3415 Chestnut Street in 1917, I believe. My mother was born in West Philadelphia on the opposite side of Lancaster Avenue. I cannot remember her address, and that was in 1919. They met previous to the war and they got married. We were a very close family due to my mother and due to my grandmother, Nan. Nan was probably the best thing that ever happened to us. She was Dad's mom. She couldn't put up with his drinking, but that's the way it was. It went on like that for years and years, and we all admired her. She gave us everything we had. She took us in, gave us houses. We moved with her our whole lives. We owe her everything, because I wouldn't have had any kind of childhood growing up, because we wouldn't have had a place to live, because the old man was the way he was. Her last name was Keenan, and they were all from Jersey, and she ended up marrying a gentleman by the name of Robert Dougherty. Nan's husband was a policeman. He died at a young age and left Nan with whatever she had, and Nan used what she had to take care of most of us. During the war, Mary and Rita, my older sisters, went to live with my mother's parents because Mom couldn't take care of them by herself. We started at 3415 Chestnut, we went to 43rd and Spruce, then we ended up at 107 South 38th Street, where the family finally ended up and broke up when we were all older. It was what we called a typical Irish upbringing back then. I had 5 brothers and sisters. Rita, Mary, myself, Anne-Marie, Bob. And Dolores. I was born at 34th and Chestnut Street in West Philadelphia, and I went to St. James Parochial School. And that was 1 through 8th grade. And starting in the 3rd grade, I started playing basketball and tried out for the team. Didn't quite make it because I was only 3 foot tall. So the 4th grade, I did make the basketball team. One of the best things about growing up was the fact that I loved basketball so much. It gave me plenty to do, and it gave me a final escape when I wanted to get out of the house and feel free. I did well in grammar school, played basketball all the way up through 8th grade. Went to West Catholic at 49th and Chestnut. I made the freshman team playing basketball. My sophomore year, I was the last man cut from the junior varsity team. And in my junior year, I was the last man cut from the junior varsity team. And in my senior year, I was the very last man cut from the varsity team. So I didn't have a very good luck when it come to that. I was just 1 man short of making the teams.
When I moved to Millick Street, probably the very day we moved, I met little Ann Kastner, who has become a lifelong friend. And we went to West Catholic High School for Girls together. While we were there, we met a Nikki Greco, who also turned out to be a lifelong friend. And Nikki Greco's boyfriend was John Latch, who was Dad's best friend from 2nd grade.
Okay. Wow, holy God.
Over there.
Over towards the right, Pat.
I had gone to a party at John Latch's house, and there was this kind of annoying guy there, and he had a couple girls he was hanging on and just being really obnoxious. But a year into us knowing each other, I said to him, wait a minute, if you and John Latch were such good friends, why weren't you at that party? And he said, I was at that party. And at that moment, I realized, I couldn't believe it, he was the obnoxious guy that was there, that I was thinking was kind of cute by this time.
In 1963, I met my future wife, Dawn, at John Latch's graduation party. I heard through the grapevine that Dawn needed a date for the prom. So when I did get in her company, I did ask her to go to the prom with me. We ended up having one of the best times we ever had. All we did was laugh all night, and it was like we were by ourselves. No one else was at the prom. And that was the beginning of a long, long-lasting relationship. It was a good time.
John Latch and Nikki Greco, we have to forever thank for introducing us all those years ago.
So we ended up at 27th and Snyder. There was a bar. John and I, we were ticket holders. And we went to this game, and it was crowded, and John decided, well, the best way to see over the crowd was to stand on the table. So, the table in the bar, up against the wall. We were all laying back in the bar.
What year was this?
Oh, it was 1960.
It was a folding chair.
John, it was a table. The whole thing went down with. John's standing up there, and he's doing good. All of a sudden, somebody scored, everybody jumped and yelled, and John went down. The table flipped up, and John's laying there up against the wall. He says, Jesus, I'm paralyzed. My spine is freezing. I'm paralyzed. I can't move. I said, John, you all right? No, I can't feel anything. It's cold in my back. It's running out. Well, he was sitting in cold beer. Just get up, John. You're not paralyzed. I said, you're going to make it. So he got up, and we watched the rest of the game. There for a minute, John was dying. He was paralyzed.
So that later on, we just grown like that and drank that.
That was one of the best moments we've had.
Seeing as my basketball career didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, I ended up in the Philadelphia Police Department in 1965. I graduated West Catholic in 1962, and Mom graduated in 1965, the same year that I joined the police department. I was undercover for a year after I was pulled out of the police academy and sent into plain clothes. The reason being is I was so young looking and no one would have believed that I was a police officer. When I was finished, I was sent back to the police academy. I ended up being a cop for 24 years, which was a pretty good profession. I had a good time, had a lot of fun, had a lot of tragedy, involved with a lot of tragedy. But my wife was the best wife in the world to be married to a cop. It takes a different type of woman to be married to a cop, mainly because of the hours and because of the stress. The stress, when it comes upon you, isn't noticed by you, but it's noticed by your wife. You get, we feel that we're so tough that none of this nonsense is going to bother us, and we try never to bring it home. And as a consequence, I've only told funny stories throughout my career to my family, and I don't tell the ones that break your heart, or the ones that you think about and you never forget. The ones you think about, I've been thinking about them for 30 years, and you just don't get them out of your mind because they made such an impact in your life.
I got a cop story for you, and I wanted to be a cop. I was going to work one morning, 4:30 in the morning. I'm under the 26th Passyunk Avenue overpass, train trestle. I'm half asleep because I'm 21 years old, I'm probably half drunk. And I'm waiting for the lights and saying it's like this. And a cop car comes up behind me. hits my car. Just when he hit me, turns all the lights and sirens on. I shit myself. And I look up in the mirror and I see this.
Dawn and I were engaged in 1966, and we finally got married in 1967, 7 months later. I married the love of my life, the most beautiful woman in the world, Dawn, November 25th, 1967.
When we were on our honeymoon in Bermuda, and that's when he got the call that his mother had passed away, the 27th of November, just 2 days after we were married. Of course, we packed up quickly, left most of his clothes there. We didn't even know what we were doing. Got on a plane as quickly as we could. On the airplane, I knew he was worried about his 14-year-old sister, Dolores, but I told him that we would bring Dolores to live with us because I knew that was something that really scared him, for her to be alone with the father. And my parents, Jean and Wayne, met us at the airport, and my mother told me it was a wonderful idea, that she would be there and support us. And she did. They did.
We kept Dolores with us and raised her from the time she was 14 years old until she got married at 22 years old.
Hey, Bernie, how about a discount? Oh, yeah.
My mom did die at the age of 47, so that was tragic in itself. It was the day before my wife and I were getting married and my mother had her massive heart attack. We saw her at the hospital after we were married. And we went on our honeymoon to Bermuda, and Mom was dead 2 days later, and we had to come home. So that was tragic to me. It was something I never got over. It's something that I guess any son would not get over. So that's the hard part. My mother was probably the best person I've ever known. She always kept things in a level head. In spite of everything she went through, there was an awful lot of things she went through that were really bad due to alcohol. And she kept us laughing. No matter what had happened, she always had a way to make us feel good about it. We didn't have anything, but we always looked good when we went to school. We always had something to eat when we come home. Mom never complained. I never heard my mother complain about anything.
Well, when we went to the prom, just to put a little note in here, she had a little job that he took me to so he could show me off to her for the prom. I couldn't speak. She was so beautiful. It took my breath away. She was something else.
Joe, could you come up for a second? I want you to stand right here. Get the whole family in this. This is something that we're going to have a lot of fun with here.
How do you like the suit?
Okay, now. Looks good. You look good. Stand. You stand on this side. Let me stand on this side. Okay, that's good. Now what we're going to do here...
Your mommy has one.
She have one of these?
Oh, yeah. It's quite not as tight as this.
Oh, but this is what...
Oh, God.
You all right?
Perfect.
Lift up. Hey.
Lift up.
What happened? Oh, this is good. Are you all right now?
Oh, yeah, it's even better.
Okay, now this is what... Oh, that's good.
What, are they ready for the bill?
This is good. That's good. Okay, now. I have the blade. Now I want you to pay attention and do everything I tell you to do. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the blade through your neck.
My shoes on straight?
Matter of fact, they are. You have life insurance?
A little bit.
Fire insurance?
Never have enough. That's what they tell. I have a piece of the rock, Gene.
Piece of the rock.
It's in my pocket.
Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to let me know when you feel the blade actually touch your neck, okay?
Oh, sure.
Let me know. Now, do you feel it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Gene, I'm packing, baby.
Okay, but that's when, it sure is. Okay, now, that's because I did it real slow. If I do it,
If you do it fast,
you won't feel a thing.
No, I know that.
Now, I want you to keep your hands down by your side, because when the blade passes through your neck, I don't want
My
you
head
to...
will drop right.
No, no, no. No, it's just that I don't want you to cut your hands, and if anything goes wrong, they're going to drop to your sides anyhow.
I understand that.
Okay, now, just stand there, and I want you to just take a deep breath.
real
Relax, and hands down by your side.
That's important.
This is very good. You can do this fast or half. Fast. Okay.
Oh, God, that hurts.
Sideways. Good. I like that.
You have no idea what this feels like.
Stand this way. Good.
Hey, when you wiggle it a little bit, I got an itch.
Okay, now I'll tell you what. You feel anything, right?
Ah, hey.
Not a thing. It was great, and it's bloodless, and
it's perfect.
you didn't feel anything. You just don't have anything to drink for about 10 minutes. Thanks a lot, Joe. You stand very well.
In 1977, we moved to 12,000 Academy Road, where Janine Marie was born.
It was a wonderful pregnancy. I worked up till practically she was born. I didn't gain
16 pounds.
I didn't gain but 15 pounds, so I looked probably better than I ever did in my life. And so it was a wonderful pregnancy. This beautiful baby girl, I had mentioned to God that I would love for it to be a little girl the first time, and I would love for her to have blonde curls and blue eyes. Then I would know that my Father was watching down from heaven, and she had blonde hair, curls, and blue eyes, just what I ordered. And she was just our pride and joy, and your little button nose.
Yep.
And she was just so much fun, just absolutely fun and precious and just everything.
Janine was born on August 8th, 1978. She was a very pleasant, happy child, my little button nose, who made me happy every time I seen her. She'd run to me, and all I needed was a little piece of candy, and it was like I gave her the Taj Mahal.
We were there a year or two, but that particular street, the traffic was so terrible. And we knew there's no way we could have kids playing in a yard with so many cars flying by each day. So we moved to a little street just 4 blocks away. It was Drake Drive. It was real family-oriented and kid-oriented. And that's where we had our family.
Close to a playground.
Close to a playground.
We had a wonderful family.
But it wasn't much after that. We thought we'd like to have another one. And this time I thought, this time it would be perfect if it was a boy with brown eyes and brown hair. And darn if that's not what we got. So we were really fortunate, and it was a lot easier getting pregnant the second time than it was the first time.
On July 4th, 1980, my son Patrick was born.
He's our little firecracker. We always made it known to him, though, that it was America's birthday, and he was just lucky to have a birthday the same day as America. I didn't want him to think that he was going to have this huge birthday every year, but his name was Patrick Wayne Dougherty, and it was just the perfect family. He's a little trickster. He tells us when he was little that he's named Patrick because he was such a cute baby and he liked to trick around. he would tell us things like, "Oh, Mom, Janine hit me back." So they were quite a team. They were quite a team. Double trouble, I would say.
At the time Patrick was born, he was so small that Mom would hold him in her one hand and call him little roast beef. And it kind of fit the bill because he was a little tiny guy. Very smart. Didn't need a lot of friends to keep him happy. He always managed to keep himself happy. Around that time, I was working 3 jobs. I was working the police department, I worked at a beer distributor, and I did landscaping. At which time, Mom stayed home with both our children to take care of the kids. The height of my married life was when I ended up with 2 children. I had what they called a rich man's family. I had a little girl and a little boy, which made us both very happy, and neither one of them were a problem.
We had the rich man's family.
Yeah.
Perfect family.
There, ladies and gentlemen, is the end answer of 10 years of trying hard.
When you should have quit while you were ahead.
I should have quit.
Stop it, Janine.
I should have claimed impotence. Jesus Christ, son. What are you, an idiot? Go backwards?
Raggedy man.
Raggedy man?
At one point, in about 1985, our good friends John and Peggy Capral asked us to take a ride down on a summer day and visit. The kids were like 5 and 7 at that point. We took a ride down, and as we're heading into Maryland, and we're making a left into Chest Haven, we couldn't believe it. It was like the mountains, it was like the beach, the shore, the country. We passed farms. It was spectacular, and we just fell in love. Went back the next day and bought a summer home there.
We had our own private beach on the Chesapeake Bay down in Earlville, Maryland.
We were fortunate enough to find a little place, a little cottage on the beach, on the bay, and had the best summers of our lives.
And we had some of the greatest times we ever had as a family. We always had a party, there was always room for one more, and no one was ever turned away at our dinner plate, except maybe Bob. Bob wanted to eat everything.
When I get my facelift, then take me. Wow. I got this right here. You're in the way.
The cursory glance was actually all right on the line. But you know,
Why don't you take another picture while we're all up here close?
Now wait a minute, we have a live one here. We have a cigarette smoker that is trying to hide, knowing that she's trying.
Can you read between my fingers?
Yes, I can.
how's that, man? Close up on the chicken wings.
Hannah, you can walk from
Well,
here.
I'm not going near the water. Thank you very much.
It is, honey, the children. But it's pretty. It's been frozen for 2 weeks.
While we were down on the water, we did at one time purchase a 19-foot runabout with 150 horse on it that my kids used to love. We went fishing, we went speeding around the bay like we owned it. Mom loved it, and everybody in the family loved the boat. So we had a good time with that, a lot of good memories.
This is on.
They said, is he going to shoot us? I said, no, but he might hit us with his mom.
The retiree comes home from work.
I was driving a turd hearse tonight.
Speech, Jim.
Great to be out. Give me a beer.
Plus, you got to be back in a half hour.
In 1989, after 24 years in the police department, I finally retired so we could move down the shore.
Because he really wanted to get the kids out of the city. His famous saying was, if they were going to get in trouble, they were going to have to work at it because everything and everybody was so far. But we ended up knocking the cottage down and putting up a permanent home.
Them to come down here and not have the city life and get involved with all the nonsense that goes on with the city life. And it turned out to be the best move of our lives, bringing the kids down here.
Patrick starts out in Cecilton Elementary, 5th grade, and Janine's first day at school was 7th grade in Bow Manor. And ultimately, they both end up in Bow Manor a couple years later.
After I retired from the police department in 1989, I got a job at the International Airport working in maintenance. I worked at the Philadelphia Airport for 15 years and finally retired at 2004.
But now that it's a permanent home, things are changing a little bit. Things just aren't the same. People don't visit anymore. I end up going back to work by that time, and so there's getting home 7, 8 o'clock at night, and there's no boat in the water anymore, and people just don't visit because it's your permanent home. They don't want to be bringing sand into your house. So the other thing that was a big concern then, the many, many miles that he was traveling at 1 and 2 in the morning, he was afraid he was going to get hurt on those back roads in the dark. This was a perfect 10 years for kids growing up on the beach. but maybe they need to get a little closer to civilization. So that's when we started looking around, found a place up in Sunnybrook in the outskirts of Elkton. Those first weeks of living in that home, it was amazing. They had 10 and 15 friends there. We were ordering pizzas every night. In fact, one day the pizza man said, "Lady, is that you again?" So it was a different world. We didn't have the beach anymore, but they had friends and friends all the time. So that worked out well.
Did you get that on camera? Did you get that on film?
Get that thing out of your eye. We have a challenge here.
We moved from Earlville, Maryland to Elkton, Maryland to Northeast Maryland where we live now. In 2010, my daughter Janine married Dana Orton. And in 2012, they gave birth to Celia Blue.
A lot of words.
Janine and Dana knew each other, but learned more about each other when Dana and Pat were in a band together called Hello King. And that relationship grew. They ended up getting married and buying this home on Red Toad Road that had a cottage on it that they offered to us. We knocked down the little cottage and put a little home up in its place. So fortunately, at this time in our lives, we can help her raise her little baby. But in later years, they'll be taking care of us.
Gotta pay the toll.
They're going to have a hell of a time taking care of me. I'm going to fight tooth and nail. From the minute I crack my first diaper till they tie it over my head and bury me. Decide to set me on fire.
Personally, I don't think they made you a part of the deal.
Well, then I'll be out in the vegetable garden.
I don't think you were supposed to make it this long.
I'll be compost. Where do you see those tomatoes?
Your family all passed at 50. You beat them by 22 years?
Yeah, and still working.
No, yeah.
I'm like that rabbit that just keeps on ticking, pissing people off left and right. But I'm a ticking. I keep on coming, or going. My son Patrick married Amanda Kearns in 2013.
Patrick and Amanda knew each other back in high school, and things work out for the best. They never hooked up at that time, but it's probably the better thing to happen because they got to live their lives and become the people they are today, and met a couple Christmases ago again, and it was love at first sight, and she is the love of our life. I don't know what we'd do without her, but they're now married, and they too have a beautiful baby girl for us, little Miss Lydia Rose.
Look.
Smile, baby, smile. Say hi.
There's your baby. Both got babies. Yeah.
The girls, I mean, we've had people say to us, until you're a grandparent yourself, you really don't know what it feels like. And that is probably the truest statement I've ever heard in my life. And we're just enthralled with them. I just can't. We talk about them while we're watching television. We're still talking about them.
I never thought the day would come that I would ever have grandchildren, let alone have kids that would get married. I mean, I was I thought it would never happen. And yet, now that we have grandchildren, it's probably the best time of our lives. Sad part is, it's the short time of our lives. I'd like to be around to see them get married.
Come on, give Poppy a hug. No, good girl.
They make us laugh, they make us happy. They're what life is all about. And again, I never thought I'd say that. I'm proud of both my son and my daughter. They've both given me nothing but pleasure. My whole life, they never given me 5 minutes problem. Now, to come from an ex-policeman, that's pretty hard to say. And I never once had to correct them. I never once had to punish them that I remember. They were both excellent children, and I can see by the way they're raising their children, they're going to be the same way, and they're going to be very happy about it.
I love you, Celia Blue, and I love you, Lydia Rose, and you'll never know until you have grandbabies yourself how much.
Is this a therapy session?
Good luck. Thank you.
All right, come on.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pat. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, that was. We got it recorded.
Blow out your candles. Oh, no, don't spit on it.
Finally! There you go. Yay!
There we go.
Yeah.
I'll stand at attention.
There we go, Bob.
Connect me to the Commandant.
Yeah, get out of that hole you're standing in.
Hey, oh, you like that one, didn't you? And we can't all be born 5'9".